Okay, there is such a long delay between when it shows on my screen, me going live, and then when it shows up on the actual live stream. There's like a 30-second delay. It's wild. How's everyone doing? It's a really beautiful Sunday in here in Indiana. How's everyone else doing? Hey, Annabelle, how's it going? What time is it again in the Netherlands? Sophie, how's it going? See, my two of my YouTube friends right off the bat, Sophie and Annabelle. You got up at 7 a.m. to watch F1. How'd the F1 go? Was it to your liking? Was the results good? And it's now 11 p.m. Yeah, I specifically started streaming earlier because I happen to have a lot of European viewers, and so I wanted to be more accommodating to my European viewers and stream a little bit earlier. Awaken Moxie, be spectacled. Be spectacled? How's it going? One of my other good friends popping in. I appreciate it. Nutritionist Liz, how's it going? You recently just messaged me, and so it's nice to see you again. Thank you for popping back in. Tater Thought, how's it going? It's kind of interesting now that it's like the third time I've streamed, and so it's really cool to start seeing the same names pop up and then building like this weird, I don't know, slightly parasocial relationship where I recognize these avatars and usernames. And then of course, right, like some of these people I know, not in real life, but like IRL internet life, or I've actually met Sophie. 8 out of 20 drivers crashed. It was a hoot. That sounds like an actually interesting F1 race for once. Lisa M, how's it going? It's so nice to see you again. Nutritionist Liz, I will be messaging you more, promise. Yeah, no rush. I think you mentioned something about cognitive behavioral therapy and that helping me. So whenever you have the free time to message me, it's totally fine with me. Oh, duh. Be spectacle as in you're wearing glasses. Yeah, it's my vision is getting worse and worse. I don't really like wearing my glasses. I can't tell whether there's too much of an aggressive glare. I'll probably take them off in a second, but I was working on stuff and I need them when I'm on the computer. Jade, how's it going? It's been a long time. Yay, happy to catch a live. I'll probably just be hanging out in the background. Yeah, I have this friend of mine that streams on Twitch. Her name's Layla, and I constantly just like lurk in the background because usually I'm busy when she streams, but I like to pop in and then just have it playing in the background and occasionally like say hi. So I appreciate you even stopping by, Jade. It means a lot. For once, the nerve. Certain tracks I feel like are pretty boring with F1, or I don't know. I've never really gotten into racing in general, like NASCAR or F1 or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea, I think. Oh my God, you're also blind. What don't we have in common? Maybe the autistic thing. It will be interesting to find out whether you're autistic or not, and then we can compare notes because I've always felt a bit on the spectrum, but Lisa M says my vision is getting worse too. I relate. Yeah, definitely. Especially like all these long hours sitting at my computer. And then sometimes like when I'm reading the chat without my glasses, it's a little bit fuzzy and then my eyes start to hurt. So I do have an agenda. I'm trying to be a good live streamer and have prepared things to talk about. I just want to give the like a second for people to stream in before I start going on about what I'm doing and then see how you all are doing, give you all a second to settle down. And Annabelle, you'll be happy to know that I brought my nice fancy water bottle and put a straw in it just for you, even though there's soda in here, not water. But I did bust out. I literally had to go and pick it up out of my car, which is still not fixed. And so I had to go pick it up out of my car, and I was laughing because I was getting other stuff, but I was like, I definitely need to grab that for the live stream just so I can make fun of Annabelle. Moxie, agenda and the glasses. I suddenly feel like I'm in class. Wait, let me get my notes. Yeah, no. We're gonna be going over the syllabus today. Oh my god, what a good bottle. The amount of effort you went, I really did put in a lot of effort, but I also needed my headphones. I needed a lot of like live streaming things, and it happened to be in my car, so I went out of my way to go grab things for the live stream. It's really it's really weird to not hear yourself while you're talking and have like an idea of how loud I am. Also, am I a good volume? Does this need to be further away, closer? I can't really tell. Jay says, Happy Autism Awareness Day, everyone. Is that actually Autism Awareness Day today? Oh, it. What are the odds? It actually is Autism Awareness Day while we're talking about maybe suspecting ourselves to be a bit autistic. So happy Autism Awareness Day. Sophie says, How is Tallulah fixed yet? No, she's not fixed. The final part, okay, fingers crossed, the final part finally arrived yesterday, and then tomorrow I'm putting it on. So we'll find out tomorrow whether Tallulah is the name of my car, is finally fixed or not. What a quinky dink. Good volume I feel. Okay, thank you so much, Moxie, for letting me know. Yeah, some of the things on the live stream, just going over the agenda. There was more things I wanted advice on, and there's a couple life updates. Like I said, I think it would be fun to sort of use my live stream as more of like, not necessarily a vlog, but more personal, talking about stuff that wouldn't necessarily fit in a video topic. And then maybe once again going over video topics, maybe working on another video to get together. It was really fun because the last live stream we talked about why it's so hard to believe in yourself, and then I was able to use a few of your answers in the video itself, and I thought that was a really interesting touch to incorporate my viewers' opinions. And so when I have videos like that, I think it would be to continue doing that, like to get your guys' feedback on how you feel about a certain topic, and then putting that in at the end, and just having a little bit more interactivity between my audience and myself, I think would be a lot of fun. Lisa says, "Oh yeah, what happened to your car? I missed that story." So my car just was making this really loud noise, and I avoided it for months, like the typical avoidant person, just because money is really tight. That's one of the things I'm gonna be talking about later. And I just kept ignoring it, and it just kept on getting louder and louder. And so I finally decided to do something about it. And luckily, my best friend works on his truck all the time, and he knows a thing or two about vehicles. And so we've been trying to hunt down this problem, and every time we think we know what it is, it's not that. And then we've broken a few things along the way, so I have to replace that as well. It's been, I think, like over a week now that we've been trying to fix it. Granted, a lot of the time it's just sitting in the garage, but it's been this huge inconvenience to not have my vehicle. But luckily, he's letting me borrow this spare car he has just happened to sit around. Tallulah, that's a unique name. Yeah, someone else named my car. I drive a bright green Mustang, and so someone was like, "I feel like she's a Tallulah," and I was like, "Okay, that fits." And so Tallulah has been the name of my car for like the last 4 years. Free crowdsourced therapy, haha, true. Lisa says, "Oh no." Also, as an avoidant, I'm never related to anything more. Yeah, I'm really, man. When there's like financial stuff, I don't really have a lot of anxiety, but when it comes to certain things like my vehicle, I just have this huge amount of anxiety that like I'm in this really bad financial situation, and I feel like whatever's wrong with my car is super expensive. And it's the same with teeth. I'll sometimes have really bad tooth pain, and oh my god, the dentist is legitimately expensive no matter what you do. So I'll put off stuff a lot. Why does Tallulah fit? It's just like a bright. It's a bright green Mustang. So it's a vibe for Tallulah. It's one of those things where like I don't know. It was just like, yes, Tallulah, that will be her name. And then also I've had the car for 10 years and it never had a name because like everyone would be like, what do you want to name your car? And I'm not good at naming things. Like if I ever have a child, I feel bad for that child because it's just going to be nameless for a while. And so my car didn't have a name for like 8 years, and then or like 6 years, 7 years, and then someone finally gave it a name. I was like, okay, that's good. We'll use that. Strings and Pedal says, I was gonna say teeth too. Yeah, you recently had a whole dental experience, didn't you? And then also your mental health, though that legitimately took long because you had to wait for everything. Ew, don't say Kermit. Don't say Kermit the Frog. Bad. That's one of the other suggestions I always get for my car is Kermit or the Hulk. And both of those are just hard passes. So now that the stream is pretty well started, I love that too. I'm gonna jump a bit into the agenda. If you have like questions or anything you want to do, feel free to throw that in the chat. I'll be checking in on the chat and responding to things as I go. But one of the first things I wanted to start off with is a little bit more advice from you all because you were so helpful last time. I legitimately appreciated all the feedback about things like thumbnails. What are some other things? Video length. I actually have the advice here. And also like ideas about live streaming. So you were all very helpful in like giving me feedback on that. And so there's just a few more things I wanted to check in because it's such a cool thing. I have an 18 people at the moment or however many is watching me, and I feel like that's some of my core subscriber base and some people that whose opinion I really value. And so there's other advice things I want to check in. I'm going to check in with the chat for a second. I have 2 more dental things in April, and then I should be all patched up. I'm rooting for you that it is just 2 things and it is as painless as possible. Oh, Kermit, Sophie. We're gonna talk after this because Kermit and Kermit is not a vibe. Shepherd's voice, how's it going? Shalom, Eastbound and everyone. Thank you so much for dropping in, Shepherd's voice. Hey Meow, how's it going? I think you're new to the chat. I don't know if I recognize your voice. Your voice. I don't know if I recognize your username and avatar off the jump, but thank you so much for dropping by. No, Tallulah's pretty. Yeah, no, we're going with Tallulah. Right on. Strings and Pedals says, guys, we're helpful. Yes, you're extremely helpful. So one of the things I wanted to ask advice on is about my upload frequency because last time I shared with you all my incredibly long roadmap of things I wanted to talk about. Because in my time away from YouTube, I thought a lot about how I created content and I like went looking for problems. And not only problems in the way I created content, but like problems in the self-help niche in general. We kind of talked about that last time about video length and how it's really hard to talk about serious things in the span of like 10 minutes in these singular videos. So one of the things I have to do is like because I took so long off, 14 months is an incredibly long time to take off creating content. Coming back, I feel the need to like relaunch and rebrand my channel and have a lot of videos centered around, you know, that process of why I made these changes. And there's like 14 videos in this relaunch. And a bit of my problem is if I do the math of uploading one video a week, which I'm super proud of myself. I've managed to upload a video the last 3 weeks on Friday and live stream. This is the most consistent I've been in a really long time. Yay, me. But if I do the math, one video a week, that's 14 weeks, which is what? Divided by 4, almost 4 months. And that's a really slow turnout. And so I guess I wanted to ask about upload frequency, whether if I uploaded 2 times a week and also did a live stream, whether that's too much, Christopher, whether it's too much Eastbound. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask your opinion on is where is that threshold of I don't want to give you guys like viewer fatigue, which is when you upload too much. So I just kind of wanted to check in and see whether uploading twice, which is quite the commitment for me, whether that would be fine, because I really want to push forward and get to the topics I really want to talk about, but those are a bit down the line. And so I'm starting to realize like, man, I'm going to have to upload a lot more if I want to get there. Let's see. Tater thought, I'm getting my wisdom teeth out soon and I'm so scared. I luckily don't have wisdom teeth, so I'm rooting for you that process goes well and maybe you have funny stories while you're under painkillers. Lisa M says, "Oh, guess what I did? I stopped avoiding my insurance problem. I didn't have insurance for months because I was putting it off and scared, and found out I had insurance all along. But I did the scary call. That's absolutely huge, Lisa. As an avoidant, man, one of the things that sucks as an avoidant is that there's so many times where you're really fearing something or dreading something, and then you finally do it, and it turns out to not be a big deal. And so I'm so excited that you figure out your insurance problem because I just know personally how much I would avoid that for months on end and have all this stress and anxiety about it. So the fact that you went through it, that's absolutely huge. Meow says, "Yeah, I am new. I just wanted to find a chill video here on YouTube because I study for more than 10 hours. What are you studying on? And for 10 hours, that is incredibly studious of you. That's awesome." Awaken Moxie says, "Yay for doing the scary call." Yeah, exactly. Strings and pedals, consistency king. Meow, oh my god, rest up and hang out, have some tea. Sophie says, "Never too much, Christopher." Nutritionist Liz, plus live sounds perfect. That's two. I think maybe I missed a comment. No, I did not miss a comment. Oh, okay. 2 times a week sound plus live sounds perfect. Okay, that took I had a real blonde moment there. I was trying so hard to figure out what you were saying, nutritionist Liz. Lisa, I like once a week. 2 weeks would feel like 2 weeks would feel like too long in between, but more than twice a week would probably be more than I would do if I were you. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I personally could commit to more than 2 times a week, just because, as we'll get into later in my agenda for the live stream, I have quite a lot going on in my life, and so free time is a bit up in the air. So I think 2 times a week is the most I could commit to. And the only reason I would do that is because, like I said, there's a lot of introductory videos I want to get out of the way. And I just can't. 14 videos, 14 weeks is just too long to get it out. And then I want to really progress with the content and get into the topics that I really want to talk about. Like, I have topics talking about like depression or suicidality or all this stuff, and they're very important to me. But I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm very particular about how I set up things and then break them down, and very articulate in that sense. And so, yeah, I just wanted to check in and make sure that 2 times a week plus a live wasn't overdoing it. Meow says, "Thanks everybody. I'm currently training for psychology. That's why." That's awesome. Psychology is one of those things. There was a period where I didn't know what I wanted to do in college because I tried engineering, but it wasn't for me. And I was split between two different things. I was split between psychology and computer science. I ultimately did computer science, which is ironic because now on my channel I talk about way more things that are based on psychology. But wishing you luck in training for psychology. That's awesome. Is there a specific modality or specific field of psychology that you're most interested in? Shepherd's voice says, "I think you should do whatever makes you comfortable, Chris. I enjoyed watching the replay of your last live. I like live streams better because you're speaking from your heart." Yeah, there's something pretty unique about live streams. I like that. I've mentioned this every time I live stream, but I really like that I can be a little bit more my natural self and that my eyebrows chill out a little bit. I don't have quite the dynamic eyebrows I do in my video, and I get to laugh and get to talk to you all. Um, 2 times a week. Nutritional says 2 times a week. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Meow says, "I'd always attend your live stream." Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Lisa M, "But ultimately, whatever makes you feel best. Don't stress yourself out over the schedule at all." Okay, thank you. Awaken Moxie. In my opinion, remembering your chart with all the things you want to do, uploading twice a week seems fine to me. But it doesn't have to be two every single week. Yeah, I'm big into like not stressing myself out and pushing myself too far, because in the past when I do that, I would just drop off. And um, I made a vow to myself when I came back to YouTube that I would take it a lot more seriously because my channel and my audience and myself deserve that. And so being consistent and pushing forward with content. Like I all 14 of those videos are fully scripted and ready to go. So it's more so a question of, how many can I film and edit a week and produce and put out and not overdo it with my audience as well. Lisa M. Also, you said you're holding yourself to a schedule of trying to get through all the things, but why can't you do some of the stuff you're excited about in between? Just a question, not criticizing. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. I'm so particular about order. Um, and that's another thing is if I do 2 times a week, then I can do this thing where on one day I'm following the schedule that I have or this roadmap that I have, and then on the other day maybe I can do something a bit more free form. So that's another reason why 2 times a week has been appealing to me. Bubbles Rumble, how's it going? Thank you so much for dropping in the chat. I appreciate it. I think once a week consistently would be awesome. That also gives you the option of a bonus video, maybe also on a fixed day. Yeah, no, I think that's a great piece of advice. I think I'm gonna try to always upload on Friday. There's no particular reason I picked Friday. If there's a better day for you all, let me know. I just arbitrarily decide Friday is the day I'm gonna upload. But if there's a better day, let me know. Max Data, hey, it's been so long since I've seen you live. I've listened to the replays of the others still on of the others still. Hey Max Data, it's been if you've seen me live, then it's been like 2 years. It has been a really long time. I think the last time I streamed was on my birthday, almost 2 years ago. So that's amazing that you're coming back and viewing me. That's incredible. Nutritionist Liz, I would miss the live stream, but would understand if it got too much. I mean, I'm just I'm feeling out the live stream thing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to get better at it, and I feel like if it's something I can get into a good groove and maintaining the weekly live stream would be really fun for me. And because, like I said, like being a YouTuber is a very lonely thing, and I'm all by myself. And so if I can have that connection and then also talk about stuff with you all, that would mean the world to me. Okay, then 2 times a week makes sense, but I want you to overdo it and feel guilty if you need a rest. In 2021, yeah, wow, yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've streamed. Also, that prioritize what's important to you. Okay, so the next thing I want to ask about is a bit of an insecurity of mine, which is the format of my videos. So the format of my videos are what's called like a talking head video. And it's tough because when I look at other people in the self-help niche, they do all this production, they do all this b-roll, or they do all these different shots. And in my video, it's literally just me talking. And I guess I just wanted to know whether that was fine with you all, or whether I should start trying to push myself maybe a little bit more to include other things in my video. The way I kind of view my videos is they're kind of this weird mix of a video and a podcast. I imagine a lot of people don't necessarily watch my videos, but listen to my videos. And so I guess I just wanted to check in about this talking head thing, because a bit of my insecurity, if I'm going to be vulnerable and honest, is when I look at other people in the space, they create, I don't know, maybe far more engaging or dynamic videos in comparison. And so I just wanted to gauge how important that aspect was to you all. Meow says, are you willing to change the time of your stream or not? Yeah, I'm definitely willing to change. I've been experimenting with my stream time because a part of the problem is I have a lot of European viewers. And so I've streamed on Saturday or Sunday are the only days I can really stream because I work a night shift job. And so Monday through Friday, I work from 5 to 10. So I obviously can't stream while I'm at work. And so Saturday and Sunday, they're only days that work for me, and trying to find a good time. So I'm open to suggestions as well for what it's a good time to be streaming. Like I said, some of my good friends that exist in Europe, they have weird, wacky times. I think it's almost 12 for Annabelle in the Netherlands. Lisa M says, "Oh, that's why I've been able to make it. I work Monday through Thursday in the evening, so that works. But if you want to change them to accommodate more people, please do." Yeah, that I honestly think this around this time block works for me. Like I said, I can only do it Saturday and Sunday. I do have interest in maybe like if I like streaming and do it enough to where I feel comfortable, I may do like more frequent streams on somewhere like Twitch. I don't know. This is all still very new to me, and being consistent with streaming is quite the experiment for me. And I'm just playing it by ear and seeing how it goes and seeing if I can get a good vibe for it. Sophie Blisky says, "Yes, exactly what you said. I listen to your videos like I listen to podcasts. It's actually a plus as I can do other things while I listen. I think some intermittent vlogs would be fun though." Yeah, there's like some vlog style stuff. I actually have this long, it's a very long, I've been editing it forever. But I have a couple of these vlogs talking about the struggle to return to YouTube that I'm going to experiment and try to upload maybe this week or next week and see how that does. Um, Moxie says, well, the value is definitely what you have to say, but I think in general it's fun to experiment with B-roll visuals, editing styles. I wouldn't view it as something needed, but something to explore. It's interesting that like Moxie brings up that point because her and I when we video chat because we're friends, not I guess in our in real life, but we're friends and we'll video chat, and there's this person who happens to be bipolar type 1 named DPR Ian that she looks up to a lot, and he's a bit inspirational to me because he does all of his own visuals and stuff, and he experiments a lot. And so when we talk about this creator, I get a bit of like insecurity but also inspiration about that, and then trying to push myself. The big way I try to push myself though in my videos is really pushing my writing ability and really pushing how deep I get. And but I'm not against pushing on these other aspects of what makes a good video a good video. Lisa M says, East, do you like streaming? Does it work for you so far? Yeah, I really like streaming. I get really nervous and I get really in my head about it, but I really like streaming and getting to talk to you all. Um, I have these fears and insecurities that I'm being boring, or I'm not entertaining, or there's more I can do. And so trying to get over those insecurities and getting into this groove of what it's like to be a streamer, and because it's just such a different type of content. I can't sit here and read off a script that I took 10 to 12 hours to write. But yeah, I like streaming so far. Lisa M says, I don't really have an opinion either way about the editing personally. I do feel that some of the very serious videos might benefit from staying the way they currently are. I absolutely agree. Like when I'm, one of the videos I have planned is like why abuse compels silence, and serious videos definitely shouldn't have like a lot of B-roll and cuts away and stuff like that. Shepherd's Voice, your vids are great the way they are, in my opinion. I think sometimes people can get a little bit carried away with the editing stuff, which also can be a turnoff. Oftentimes, less is more. That feedback means a lot to me because I kind of agree with that. I don't always see the extra stuff as being beneficial, and I'd rather be the best writer that I can be. So getting this feedback from you all means a lot because it calms some of these insecurities down a little bit. Uh, ins inspec ins inspicatory strings and pedal. What are you trying to say? Lisa M, I've been talking too much. Sorry, everybody. What are you talking about? You haven't been talking too much. There's no such thing as talking too much. I love it. I love having feedback and being able to interact with you all. There's never anything as talking too much. Um, Please, by all means, give me your feedback or give me your thoughts, or talk at me. I appreciate it. Bubbles Rumble, just you on the screen works really well with your content. Only thing I think could have improved your videos is a cut between the chapters. Gives my brain a tiny break for processing. Do you mean like a title screen, or like some sort of infographic that gives like chapter 5, whatever the theme of the chapter is that what you mean by cut, like a hard break in between the videos that sets up a chapter? Because that's something that I've thought about as well. But I really love the videos as they are. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Meow says, "Do you read novels?" I don't really read much nonfiction or, well, any novels at the moment. The current thing I'm reading, that you can tell from the way it's been marked up, is The Body Keeps the Score. I'm big into reading things that push my development as a person, and um, I've been doing a lot of investigation into like my childhood trauma and my developmental trauma. So The Body Keeps the Score has been often an uncomfortable book to read, but yes, I do read. It just happens to be a lot of philosophy or psychology, stuff like that. But yeah, if you have a good novel suggestion that maybe I can read in my limited spare time, hit me up with it. Sophie Blisky, um, you did a video a while again on the trail in the forest, different locations, more unscripted topics would be cool. I think people like the more I think people like the more unscripted you. Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for the scripted version of me and the unscripted version of me. With ADHD, it's really hard for me to have really I don't know how to say this any other way. It's really hard for me to have these very deep and complicated and nuanced ideas, like just at the top of my mind. And so scripted videos give me the ability to make sure like this is exactly what I want to say and how I say it. Whereas unscripted gives me the ability to be a lot less serious, I think. So not flat out action packed vlog, but a different location depending on the topic. I think that's great advice, especially when it gets nice to have different backgrounds for where I'm talking. Inspiration and insecurity. Okay, see now that makes sense. Adding insecurity to my daily vocab. I got it when I read it. A chapter screen would work, or shits. Or short split screen, second fade to black. Okay, yeah, that's that really good feedback. Thank you so much, Bubbles. So that kind of brings me up to date with the advice, unless you guys have other advice about how I could improve my videos. Those were the two things I wanted to know about: is upload frequency, because like I said, I really want to make sure I'm getting through these videos so I can get into the topics that I really care about, and then the talking head thing, whether that content style is fine with you all. And so much of your feedback has been amazing. I seriously, I just can't understand. I can't understate how much I value you spending time with me and giving me your opinion and talking at me, especially you, Lisa. You can talk at me all you want. But I really appreciate it, and it means a lot because it helps me have a better idea and helps pull me out of this like space I get in where I'm just like banging my head on the wall, being like, what is a, what should I do as a creator? And so, thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, what did you decide about the logo and the thumbnails? So, I think I'm gonna simplify my logo and then go the right route of like the AI art, using Mind Journey, and then using my logo, and then including my face when it makes sense. There's every once in a while where I think me being in the thumbnail makes a lot of sense. Like there's this nicotine video that I just made the thumbnail for, and Sophie helped me out with that, where it makes a lot of sense. But in general, I'm going to do the simplified logo and some AI art that's semi goes with the video topic, and then some like words describing it. Lisa M says, I was more trying to modulate how much space I was taking up here. I recognize that I'm a privileged person and others may be less comfy talking, and taking up space might discourage them. No, I think talking, I think when I watch people stream, I think people talking helps me feel more enabled. To anyone lurking, I always welcome you to join the chat. It's really nice seeing your names pop up and getting to say hi. And I understand some people like to lurk. I'm kind of a lurker in live streams. I don't ever really comment unless it's like my good friend Layla, then I'll kind of comment. But whether you're an active communicator or a lurker, I support you and I appreciate your time. Sophie says, "Can I see?" Yeah, drop your Instagram, your fairy girls thing in the chat, Sophie. Yeah, I hope anyone like whether you're a longtime subscriber or you randomly like meow come across this stream. I hope you feel welcomed, and I want to create a space where everyone feels included and welcome. And I don't care I frankly don't care at all about your like sexuality or your religious beliefs or your political views. To me, all of that doesn't mean anything. And so I just see people for who they are. And I focus a lot on this idea of suffering. And so I think suffering is universal. I don't think any kind of label you can put on a person protects you from suffering per se. Maybe it gives you privilege, but doesn't protect you from suffering. And so I want to check in with the human condition, and that means everyone. Jade says I'm very much a lurker. Yeah, I support the lurker. I get it. I really enjoy just like listening to people, and especially when I had my old shift when I was 9 to 1, I was allowed to listen to earbuds, and so it meant a lot to me to have these people that I would watch the VODs of people streaming. There's this one guy, and I would just listen to like a 2 hour long video on demand of a stream and just listen, and that was good enough for me. And I really value long form content. Strings and Pedal says, I'm here to lurk, work, and make dumb jokes exclusively. Yes, Annabelle is the person that brings a lot of brevity to my live streams, and I appreciate her deeply for that. So the next thing on the agenda, since I've brought this up, is to talk about a bit of life updates and a struggle I have. So in general, one of the things I really struggle with is I've progressed a lot as a person through my trauma. I've healed a lot from my PTSD, and I'm in a really good place with all that. But one of the things that sucks is this thing I call the way in which trauma becomes embodied in your life. For instance, there's a lot of things that are representative of my spiral into suicidality and depression and trauma and PTSD. And one of those big ones is the massive amount of debt I have. My debt is a representation of my eating disorder, because a lot of my debt has to do with food and overeating. And so um, my debt's a representation of eating disorder and my lack of income. I work part time. I get paid. I get paid a certain amount an hour. I don't really make a lot of money per month. I work part time because of my mental health, and so my job is also a reflection of my mental health, because I graduated with a computer science degree. I had a job offer for like 75K a year, and I turned it down because I felt that I was spiraling into depression. So there's these two sides of embodiment. There's the debt I have and the massive amount of financial hardship I'm in, which is a result of trauma and all this other stuff. And then on the other side, there's the way it's become embodied into like my earning potential, or the amount of money I'm pulling in, and the limitations I have. Because like my job is I stock stuff. I'm not going to say where I stock stuff because I'm not going to dox myself, but I stock stuff, which is a perfectly fine job because in some ways I'm overqualified. Like I said, I have a bachelor's of science in computer science, but in other really unique way, I'm underqualified for a lot of the time I've had this job, because I was undiagnosed bipolar and I was losing my stuff. And one of the nice things about this job is like I don't have to think. I just have to move and stock things, and that's really, I don't know, really conducive with my disorders and some of my depression. But I'm getting to this place where it's really difficult, because even though I'm coming out of trauma and depression, and now I'm medicated, it's become very ingrained and inescapable in other parts of my life. And I'm just gonna take a second to read chat. That's very true. Privilege can protect people from suffering, just not all kinds of suffering. So this content is important for everyone, because anyone can hurt. Yeah, I think a good example of that is like trigger warning here. I'm going to get into a little bit of sexual abuse and eating disorders, but I'm a male and I'm a person who's nearly died from my eating disorder. And in my last relationship, I was sexually abused in ways that I'm not going to discuss here right now. That's meant for a different video. And so me being male doesn't protect me from that. And then I really want to create that environment that, just because stereotypically and like statistically, maybe the average person with an eating disorder might be female, or the average sexual abuse victim might be female, which I think is true. I don't want to ever dissuade people from feeling included just because you don't fit the norm of a certain thing, whether that's depression or eating disorders or anything like that. So that's very important to me, is to bring awareness and inclusivity to the groups of people that aren't always seen as the stereotypical person. I prefer long content. I could listen for hours, honestly. Oh, thank you so much. Money can be made, but can't be spent if you're not here. Yeah, I think that's such a great point. Like I put my whole life on hold. And the reason I didn't accept that job and I just crashed out of stuff because I knew to make progress I had to give up on everything else and throw myself into it. And so I don't necessarily regret destroying parts of my life, but it brings me into this current situation where like I have a lot of stress and anxiety about money and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and it kind of puts this giant question mark on my future, and I feel very torn between these two paths. I have these two paths in life, and there's a Sylvia Plath quote I might get into later. But on one end, there's, I have this degree, which if I put a lot of time and effort into studying, I could probably get a job in computer science and make a decent amount of money. And there's a lot of stability in that. But the problem is like, despite that stability and that like level of assuredness, there's no meaning in that path. And I don't feel particularly called to it. I do like programming, but it's not like something that gives me a lot of meaning and gets me up in the morning. It's like, oh man, I love programming today. And then on the other side, I have this YouTube thing that I'm currently doing, where there's no stability, there's no promises. I have no idea whether this will ever be a thing that can um, financially provide for me in any way, shape, or form. And that's not why I do it. Like, I don't create content to make money, I create content to help people. But I feel very torn between these paths because I feel a lot of pressure to change because my life situation is legitimately not great. And so it's just tough when I feel so torn between like stability and meaning and how to push forward. One of the things I've been trying to do is split my time between the two, but I don't know, sometimes it feels like to be successful in one is to forego the other. And so that's just like a life update. I haven't really made up my mind. I guess in some ways I have because I'm making YouTube content. But with my live streams, like I said, like I like to get into these topics that I haven't figured out, and that's just one of these things that's been really stressing me out and eating at me is this constant questioning of like, okay, am I making the right choice? What should I be doing with my life? 30, I'm turning 30 in almost a month, like a month and 2 days, and so just a lot of things like bearing down on me, and um, I don't know, it's just a lot, and wanted to share that kind of life update because it does impact content and stuff like that. Drink something. Shepherd's voice. The majority of people live paycheck to paycheck, including myself. Even those that seem to be financially set or stable can lose it all um, as well very quickly. Yeah, I have a somewhat related situation and I don't have an answer at all for what I'm gonna do. Oh my knickers, how's it going? Just joined. Thank you so much for dropping in. It's good to see you again. Like I said, I'm really enjoying getting back into live streaming because, or this happens with comments too. You guys have no idea how much it means when I get to the point where like someone's username and little avatar becomes so familiar and I start to build this like weird relationship where like I start to remember things people bring up. And so like Lisa M, Jade, Oh My Knickers, Nutritionalist Liz, Shepherd's Voice, a bunch of other Strings and Pedals, now Bubbles Rumble or Bubbles, yeah, Rubble. It's really cool to get to the point where it's like, yes, I recognize you, and thank you so much for dropping by again. Or like, I remember that comment you left on a video, or I remember that time you were like super vulnerable or gave me really good feedback. And so, yeah, I'm so jazzed to see familiar names. I think you have a great future with YouTube, etc. Plan. Doing a lot better these days. Glad to see you again. Yeah, how are you doing in general? That goes for anyone else. It's. I was talking to Sophie about this yesterday, and it was such a weird thought to me because I took 14, like I mentioned, I took 14 months off of creating content, and my life changed a lot. But then I was thinking, like, oh my god, my subscribers' lives have probably changed so much. 14 months, like, so much about your life can change, and it was a really interesting moment to think, like, how different your life path may have been. And because I was thinking about, like, uh, just like how different your lives may have been, or like where you were when you first found my content and where maybe you are now. And it was just such a cool and interesting idea to once again realize that my subscribers and the people that view me are people with your own lives that are going on. And so, yeah, it's just one of those cool moments of, oh crap, like probably in these 14 months, so much has changed with you, hopefully for the positive. Uh, Regis, how's it going? I think you're new. I don't recognize your username or avatar off the top of the thing, but thank you so much for dropping in. I hope I'm saying your name right. I feel kind of the same way about programming at times, doing the same degree as yourself. Yeah, I love programming, but it doesn't give me meaning, and it doesn't. It's not my calling. I don't feel called to do it, but it is a lot. It's really stable, and I would somewhat enjoy that life. And it's just I feel so reckless, and I have this really cruel part of my mind that's saying you're so reckless for chasing this thing that has no stability or no promise of anything. And so it's just like one of those things that nags at me and calls into question whether I should be creating content. And my last video was not believing in yourself, and let me tell you, that is definitely a struggle of mine that I have not figured out in my life. Jade, I'm going through a passion or priority situation and also turning 33, so count yourself lucky. Hey, 33 is not that different from 30, but I totally get what you're saying. It's like there's something about the passage of time and getting out of your 20s that sort of freaks you out, because there's this weird dichotomy where like your 20s, maybe more so your early or mid 20s, like you're allowed to make all these mistakes. But I feel like the second you're in your 30s, people are like, you should have your life figured out and you should be stable and you should be doing all this stuff. I feel like it's just such a rampant change between those, just the number 3 or 2 in expectations. Awaken Moxie, oof, basically essence of my latest spiral, so I feel you. What I've come to terms with is the current world is quite different from what little me expected. As such, it's okay for my plans to continue to shift in the ever-exchanging landscape. I have faith you'll forge your own path. Yeah, I have that. A lot of it's faith-based, but I don't know. I really feel you, Moxie. Sophie Beliski, as we've already talked about, I related to those feelings too, but just think about how much has changed for the better in the past 2 years for you. Uh, there's nothing there's nothing saying that the same trajectory can't continue in areas of your life that you want to. Yeah, that's such a great point to bring up, Sophie. Sophie and I became friends along with Annabelle like 2 years ago, and sometimes we'll have these conversations where she'll remind me like what was going on in my life 2 years ago and just how different I was, and so that does give me hope that a lot of things can change in the span of like a year or two. Meow says, erase everything. It's past and dead. Make a fresh vision and prepare a new route for this journey. It only has what you want. I'm so bad at reading. It only has what you want the most as a priority, and some other crucial aspects as secondary goals. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And then one of the topics I've kind of already talked about, but I would love to make a video on, is this idea of the way in which trauma becomes embodied into your whether it's your physical body or your surroundings, and it makes it really hard to just erase the past because you're dealing with these things that are the product of that trauma. And so even if you've healed internally, there's all these external factors. Like, I live in this rundown house where everything's falling apart, and it's like, well, I start to think to myself, well, why do I live in this rundown house? Like, why can't I move? And it's like, oh yeah, I barely make any money. It's like, well, why do you barely make any money? It's like, well, because I kind of burned my life to the ground, and so on and so forth. And it becomes this sort of um always coming back to like, I can't really escape my trauma and stuff. And I think the solution for me has been facing it and overcoming it, and it's just, believing in myself is just like the current massive thing I have to overcome. Strings and Pedals says, I've been ready to turn 30 for like 5 years. I feel like uh I'm glad you feel ready to turn 30. This My life didn't change that much, but I had a really hard year. I did move from Michigan. I think that's Michigan. I'm such a bad American. I did move from Michigan to New York City in late 2021, and then moved back unexpectedly in December of 2021. And I told no one in the Discord, and no one knew. Oh, I'm so sorry. Usually unexpected dramatic moves like that are the product of some kind of big life event. And so I hope you're doing okay. If you ever feel like wanting to talk about it, you can always hit my Instagram DMs or email me. I feel like you have the luxury to consider any point as the starting point. See, now, now I know you're a philosophy student, or not, psychology student, because you're hitting me with these great points, meow. Sophie and I are OGs. Yeah, you guys are OGs. Lisa M says, I can't wait for 30. I'm about to turn 25. 30 feels like I will have turned a sort of corner, like the things are hard now would go away. That's not how life works, though. Yeah. I am hoping your life gets better, turning 25, and that, the second half of 20 goes much better. It seems like you have a lot of like self-awareness that I didn't possess. It's wild because like people think I'm this super articulate person and super self-aware, but when I look back on like on like me at 23 and 24, man, I was the complete opposite of who I am today. And so Lisa, it already sounds like you have a great head start on, these elements of self-awareness and pushing yourself. And so I think you're probably in a good place, and I'm rooting for you. OG Queens. So have I, but in 16 months when I'm actually turning 30, I'll probably be freaking out. Shepherd's voice, even though you live in an old house, it's a blessing to have a house. Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. There are many that don't even have that. You are more blessed than you realize. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and thank you for bringing that perspective back into it. Like, I am really blessed to be struggling with the things that I'm struggling with, and it could be a lot worse. Um, that's a useful thing to keep in mind, and I appreciate it. I think it has its limits on how beneficial it can be, but I do really appreciate that shepherd's voice, and there are a lot of things that I'm dealing with that are pretty privileged. It was a good thing. I finally did the thing and took the jump, but it went kind of poorly. I did good in school, but was feeling very disabled and spent $20,000 in 4 months, partly because of it. That is a lot of money. Were you in New York City for school? Like, what kind of school were you doing in New York City? I only get annoyed about my age when my younger friends call me a dinosaur, even though at their age I've already experienced far more than they have. I think I feel far more calm than in my 20s. Yeah, Annabelle, I can imagine you feel a lot more calm than in your 20s, especially now that you're getting to this place where you're finding good coping strategies for the things you deal with and finally putting a name to some of the things you deal with. It's okay to feel both, though. You can acknowledge your privilege and be grateful, but also acknowledge that you're still hurting. Yeah, like it's hard because we're kind of getting into the territory of being like comparative with our trauma, and it's a really difficult thing I've seen a lot of other people do. Is we try to invalidate our hardship because other people have it harder, but I find that strategy never works. You can logically, I can realize that like for Ukraine is a good example. Like there are people going through significantly, like incredibly more difficult things than I'm going through. And it's so interesting that dichotomy of intellectually understanding it, but that really not making an impact on the day-to-day realities of what you're going through. And why that is something that's always been a curiosity to me of, you know, what makes it so hard to have sometimes a realistic perspective on your hardships. Uh, Annabelle says, I don't have to figure myself out. I don't have to figure myself out quite as much anymore. That's comforting. Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm not really sad to be turning 30. I think it's an interesting change. And I'm to the point in my life where I wouldn't undo any of the things that have happened to me. I'm really thankful for even the trauma and the abuse and stuff. I'm to a point where I see a lot of beautiful silver linings to it, and I wouldn't go back and change it at this point in my life. Yeah, for school, I wanted to get away and move to New York City because I wanted to. So I made an excuse to move by going to community college, but my mental and physical health was piss poor. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like that combination of both like mental and physical health being wrong is such a devastating combination. Shepherd's voice says, "No worries. I also live in an old house with its issues. I even have to remind myself that the house I'm in is a blessing. It could be worse. I've lived in my car before." That's wild, Shepherd's voice, living in your car, that like experiencing that kind of hopelessness is something I've been so blessed to not have to deal with. Um, so there's a few more things on my agenda, unless there's other kind of topics people wanted to talk about. And I guess this kind of could have gone in the vice category. Um, but with my video topics, I have a lot of things I want to talk about, but I want to make sure that I'm still talking about the things that you all care about. And so I wanted to give you all an opportunity to have a bit of influence over not the immediate future of my channel, but the near future of my channel, of voicing some of the topics that like you subscribe for, like what brought you to my channel. The reason I ask is because the only videos that did well that continue to get views while I was gone is ironically all the nicotine videos. I made the nicotine videos. Nicotine is this dark and it plays a really important role in my life. And when I get back to talking about nicotine, my first video is why nicotine is about something so much darker. But it's funny because I never expected those videos to do well, and they're some of the best performing videos on my channel. And so ironically, I have all these subscribers that watch these nicotine videos, and that's not exactly it's not exactly where I'm going to take my channel. I am going to talk about it again because, like I said, it plays an important role in my past and in my life. But I guess I'm just kind of curious, what brought you to my channel? What are the topics that you're interested in? Just so I can have that idea to shape the future of where I put more of my effort or not. And then, yeah, it would just mean a lot to hear that perspective from you all. Yeah, says, yes, make them your backbone, enjoy nature, practice and grow. Yeah, I completely agree. Because that's it's one of the strange things, because I talk about so many different aspects of my life and I've had so many different hardships. I talk about so many different topics. Like I've talked about skin picking to nicotine to depression to suicidality to my ex-fiance's eating disorder. Like my topics are kind of all over the place, and it's kind of hard to always understand what brought someone in and where my focus in the future should be. My current kind of focus is just continuing to keep pushing forward with talking about the things that matter in my life, and then pushing my channel. I mean, I have some very long-term visions for my channel, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you all a chance to influence and just give me feedback and stuff. uh Tater Thought says, I first came into contact with your channel from your eating disorder content. I especially value your insights as a male ED sufferer and relate to ED and self-hatred. Sadly, I'm so sorry that you relate to that, Tater Thought. Like having seen EDs on both sides, both with my ex-fiance and me, it's a devastating thing to go through. And Sophie, my good friend, she formerly had an eating disorder, and she works literally with an eating disorder non-for-profit, and we talk about the topic so much and its impact on people. And it's something I'm really passionate about and something that I want to go more into talking about. The reason I haven't talked about it up until this point is like there is no way for me to talk about it without talking about my SA, and I just wasn't ready to talk about it. But once I finally discuss my essay, I can finally talk about aspects of my ED, and that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. Strings and Pedals says, "Wait, what was the question?" The question is just, what are the video topics that you're looking from from me, and what direction would you like to see the channel go in that, like that kind of thing? What brought you in, so on and so forth. Jade says, "I'm going to be honest with you. It was not the nicotine video." Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of people that are in the chat right now, probably not the nicotine videos, but um, to me, I think addiction is such a deep and dark thing that people struggle with, and it controls their life. And so, um, I think I have a lot of interesting insights into that topic, and so it is a thing that I feel passionate about. But I understand that it's a very niche topic for sure. Lisa M says, I'm aware that doesn't tell you what to. Oh wait, I'm here because you made me feel seen in a way a lot of creators didn't. I didn't think other people could relate to the depth of my struggling with mental health and pain, but you did. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. uh, Hearing that means a lot because I don't want people to relate to the things I go through, but it means a lot that I can kind of create the content that makes people feel seen, because that's one of the biggest goals I have, is to just put into words these experiences that some of us go through, and to make those experiences feel related to and seen. Lisa M says, I'm aware that doesn't tell you what to do with your channel though. Jay says, I quit when I was 20. Lisa says, I found you because of your DMP video. Yep, that's my biggest video on my channel, is my near-death experience because of my ED. Jay says, I think it was everything else. Shepherd's Voice says, I think all of the topics are great and you will be able to help many in giving hope to overcoming the same things you have and currently working on overcoming. Lisa M says, the nicotine videos were very good, very important. Sophie Beliski, your empathetic eyebrows brought me to the channel. Just kidding, it was your genuine and insightful discussion of tricky topics and your honesty and your adorableness. Oh, thank you so much, Sophie. Yeah, okay, this is like great feedback. I'm always afraid that I'm gonna kind of like lose people if I talk about certain things, and it would mean a lot to me to build an audience that is interested in what I have to say, kind of regardless of the topic. Awaken Moxie says, I found you through the DMP video. I enjoyed your poetry videos. But what made me stay is your honesty. Regardless of the topic, your transparency and vulnerability creates a space for others to genuinely engage. God damn it, Moxie. This is why you're one of my friends. Moxie is always so vulnerable and kind and supportive to me. Strings and Petals. I think what drew me to your channel is probably how incredibly uncomfortable the topics made me. It's all the things that scared me to think about. Yeah, Annabelle and I, once again, is another person I've FaceTimed with, and her and I have gotten lost in the sauce on some of these topics. And we've explored a lot of uncomfortable topics together, and some really interesting topics like determinism. Meow said, your video title made me subscribe to your channel. Which video title? This video title? The live stream 3 updates, advice, and just chatting? At least I think it would be hard to lose your core audience. Yeah, building a core audience means a lot to me, and building a community and building the kind of people that are also chasing their higher selves and trying to make the best of their lives. Sophie Beliski says, oh, your poetry, please make another spoken word sometimes. It's so wild to think that's what got me my start, was spoken word and poetry. The reason I don't do it a lot now is, in the beginning of my experiences, it was so hard for me to talk about what had happened to me. And poetry had this really nice ability to hide things, like, because it was so symbolic and you could make metaphors. I could talk about the things that happened to me without talking about the things that happened to me. And spoken word / poetry is what gave me a voice and what got me into creating content. And it was the first things I could do before I ever felt comfortable just talking about stuff normally. And I would not be here without spoken word. But the reason I kind of don't do spoken word anymore is I don't feel like I need that obscurity anymore. I feel very empowered to just be transparent and honest. But yeah, there's a few spoken words that I might make, but they're going to be very dark and very grim. So maybe you don't want me to do a spoken word, because it's the one I'm thinking about is particularly difficult. Live stream 3 is just so compelling and emotional as the title. It really is. It grips you. Like, what could be the trilogy of these live streams? Strings and Pedal, the one truth about the universe, whether it's deterministic or not. I think the idea of agency and self-will is so fascinating. There's something you said during one of your spoken word videos that has really stuck with me. I really appreciate it. Do you happen to know what that thing was off the top of your head? Strings and Pedals says, wait, have you watched Everything Everywhere All at Once? Have we talked about it? I have not watched that movie yet. We can joint watch it if you want some time and then get into a discussion. It says, I appreciate everything you say and do for both male and female audiences, regardless of topic. Yeah, that's a really important thing. I do, if I had to talk about like fantastical long-term plans for being a content creator, I think it would be really valuable to kind of speak to the male audience, because I think, we exist in an age with Andrew Tate, and don't even get me started on him. But I feel like uh, a lot of young men need guidance, and there's not a lot of content. Well, I don't know, who am I to give guidance to young men, but that's a very distant plan of mine. But where I'm currently at, like, everyone is included. I don't care about your gender, and I try to make my videos um, applicable to everyone I can. So poetry was a way for you to hide and express hard things safely, and now you don't need to express safely because the work you did on yourself. Am I getting what you mean? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Uh, uh, One of the ironically, it's the video topic that I want to work through with you all. But going through abuse compels silence, and I had all these horrific experiences that happened to me through my ex, and I didn't feel I had the right to talk about them, and I didn't know how to talk about them, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable. And so by creating spoken word, I could turn these things into metaphors where only I really knew what it meant, but it still conveyed sort of the emotion or place where I was at. And then as I became a content creator, I'm a very open and transparent person, and so the more I got comfortable with just being upfront with people, the less I needed that obscurity. And so spoken word gave me a voice. And now that I have that voice, I don't necessarily feel I need that tool, that crutch. No, that's not a crutch, but that assistive tool of, having the ability to use metaphors to talk about stuff. I feel able to just talk about it now. Dark is not a problem. Have you listened? Have you not listened to my one spoken word? That's a good point. Your one spoken word is pretty great. I want to watch that movie and haven't. Yeah, that's one of the movies that have been on my list, but I haven't gotten around to it. Let's watch it together. Yes, please. Yeah, we haven't watched a movie together in a while. And the last one we started, I don't remember what it's titled, but we made it like a whole 30 minutes into it, and then we never finished it. Um, just a couple different places we could take the stream. Let's see what time it is. It's 6, so it's been an hour. I'll probably stream for like another half hour or so, but there's a couple different ways we could take the stream. We could just keep on just chatting and interacting. That's Oh, never let me go. Yeah, we can just keep on chatting, interacting. That's perfectly fine with me. There's a video topic we could kind of discuss. That video topic is one of the videos that I'm working on, which is why abuse in of itself compels silence, or why does trauma compel silence. But really, both of those topics are kind of touching into this idea of why do we silence ourselves, right? Because that's the underlying thing that I'm exploring is, sometimes we have people in our lives that silence us, or especially like families or people in positions of power or people in community. There's that kind of pressure to be silent about things that have happened. But there's a whole different aspect. Like for me, like I don't have anyone in my life that's forcing me to be silent. Like I don't have contact with my ex. Like I don't have anyone pressuring me, and I have nothing but support, yet I still silence myself. And so that's kind of the video topic I wanted to maybe explore with you all. Um, or there's maybe a different kind of topic that we can launch in or talk about. God knows I could talk forever about anything. Just wanted to know where you guys wanted to take the stream. I could also talk about the rebrand. I could talk about stuff that's coming up. I actually have a video that's gonna go live tomorrow that gives a lot better look into the future of my channel. Even though I've talked about it on stream, it breaks it down. Because one of the things I really wanted to work on as a content creator is like transparency. I'm a very transparent person when it comes to when I'm talking about things, but I want to be far more transparent and giving you all an understanding of like what video topics to expect. And so I'm really excited about that. I love like double entendres and puns and references, and so it's a specific type of video, but we decided to name it like what video topics are inbound, and we thought that was vaguely clever. I love a good like pun or reference to something, and so the inbound thing was fun. I think one of my favorite things a subscriber came up with that had to do with my channel is like I once upon a time had a Discord. I don't know if I'd ever do a Discord again. It's just a lot to manage, and then we had this really negative experience in the Discord. But anywho, for the chat rules, CJ came up with this thing of like east boundaries or bound like boundaries but bound like highlight like bolded, and I thought that was clever. So I do love a good reference. Bubbles Rubble. Unfortunately I have to leave now. Thank you for the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. It means a lot to me. Have a good rest of your day. I hope it goes well. Oh, I love it when people in the chat interact with each other. So thank you for wishing Bubbles a good night. One one of my like I brought up Layla or Lay Zizzle as I think her Twitch name is, but she does these really cute things. Twitch is such a cool platform because there's so many different things you can do as a streamer. But she does this really cute thing where she has this emoji specifically for when people leave, and it's like angels on the pillow. But yeah, I love it when the chat interacts with each other. Lisa says you still do. It's we all stopped talking for some reason. That reason was me. I disappeared and I was having a mental breakdown. And I just couldn't manage it. Lisa, were you around for that one like Australian dude who kind of lost his stuff and said a bunch of really awful things? I know Annabelle Annabelle was there for that. Does YouTube Live do emotes? I think there's like membership emotes. Engage with your audience. No. I think there's membership emotes, but I don't have memberships enabled on my YouTube channel. That's something I might explore when I'm like bigger or more consistent. The one thing I really want to focus on is giving my audience like stability. Like I want to be a stable person in my audience's life. So any kind of financial thing I want to put off until I'm in a far more predictable state. Lisa says, "Oh yeah, that's true, but we all could have stopped talking. Okay, no, I wasn't there, but you told me about it. I think I came in a bit after because you were careful about letting me in." Oh, that's really interesting that I was careful about letting you in. Yeah, that part of my life was I started. It's funny. There's a lot of things I've done in a manic state, and my Discord was very manic. Deciding to do that was incredibly hypomanic of me, and there's a lot of that part of my life that I don't really remember, and it's a blur. So, um, you might have to remind me of our conversation. Did we ever live stream, Lisa? Because not live stream, but video chat. Because at the time, I was also manically video chatting with everyone that subscribed to my Patreon. So I don't think we ever got around to a video chat, but I do kind of remember that period of time. Sounded. Uh, Strings and Bell says, "Yeah, I remember that. Yes, very stressful. Yeah, it was awful. He completely lost his. I don't want to curse. He just lost it. Lisa M. It sounded terrible. Yeah, and like weird sexual comments, and then telling someone to kill themselves. Like just completely inappropriate behavior. Once you have a Twitch or something, we can do funny East eyebrow emotes. See, now that would be a great emote. Paying someone to make East these very animated eyebrows. That's just like a feature of mine now. It was the hair back when I had long hair. That's what everyone talked about. But now, eyebrows. Shepherd's voice. I'm a people lover. They may not love me back, but I love them anyway. Yeah, I really get that vibe from you, Shepherd's voice, and I really appreciate how understanding you've been about me not really having religion and not really pushing it on me. And I hope you also know I sincerely respect your beliefs, and even though we might not have the same beliefs, I really want you to feel welcomed. Like I said, I don't just because I'm not religious doesn't mean I don't want people that are religious. If you have different opinions than me, that's fine. You're always allowed in my community. So thank you so much for being considerate, Shepherd's Voice, because I did have this video about my near-death experience, and there were some people that maybe kind of crossed the line when it came about religion, and it made me a bit uncomfortable. Lisa M says, no, no, I found out about the chat the other day. I subbed to your Patreon, and then we were going to do it, and I had a bad mental health era, and it's too nervous because of bad mental health. Yeah, okay, now I remember that. I remember you and someone else both had that, where we had set it up, or we were talking about setting it up, and it just became this thing of like, oh, I can't handle that. And which is totally fine and understandable. If you ever do want a video chat, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram. Oh, ew, not sexual comments, gross. Yeah, I find it really inappropriate. I have predominantly female friends, and I think treating women with respect is really important to me. And so making, like, CJ, I don't want to get into it, but there was a reason why he was making these comments, and it was just completely inappropriate and not respectful, and I just don't stand for that at all. Also, a handsome Trek emo. Yeah. My viral moment on Reddit was about handsome Squid. No, handsome Trek. Damn it. Oh yeah, and then we just texted about it instead. I'm no longer sub to your Patreon because I lost $20,000 in New York City and I'm unemployed for a year, and I'm broke prioritizing differently, but I still care. But I'm down. Yeah, that's don't ever feel bad about the fact you even subscribed at a period means a lot to me. But like, one of the things I know and accept is I talk about being mentally ill, and I know I'm going to bring in an audience of people that have mental health struggles and are going through it. And this funny thing that happens when you have mental health problems is that being financially successful is not really doesn't really go along with that. And so for me, I would never want I'm never gonna pay gate content. Like, I'm never gonna put my live streams behind like a membership, or I'm never gonna put content behind Patreon, because my audience are mentally unstable people sometimes, and money is rough. And so I would never ever expect that from anyone like that, because I'm not in a financially good spot, and it's entirely because of mental health. And I would never ever want there to be a reason, money to be the reason why someone couldn't connect with me or anything like that. When people do support me, that means the world to me, but it's never anything that's expected. And I don't care in the least that you had to prioritize different things, especially when you've lost 20 grand. So Jade says, I have to sleep, or at least try to sleep. Okay, bye, Jade. Thank you so much for lurking. I appreciate it so much. Good luck. Where do you live that you're going to bed, Jade? But yeah, regardless, have a good night. Thank you so much for lurking. I appreciate it. Thank you. Uh, but I'm, but I'm down. Yeah, no, totally. If it, just reach out to my Instagram sometime. My Chewy says my aunt Emily misses you. I don't know who your aunt Emily is, but hey Chewy, I don't know if you've commented yet in the chat, but thank you so much for stopping by. Handsome Squidward, I'm dying. No, I don't. No, I don't look like handsome Squidward at all. Restwell Jade, thank you, Shepherd, Night All. Okay, I mean, I spent it, I didn't lose it, but it was complicated. Good night, Jade. Yeah, it sounds like a complicated story, and I don't want you to feel pressured to talk about anything that you don't want to. One of the one of the problems I've run into with being such an open and honest person is that it can kind of pressure people to get into topics maybe they're not willing to, maybe they're not ready to talk about, or maybe talk about it in spaces that is overwhelming for them. And so just because I'm open and vulnerable, never feel like you have to match me on that. I will accept you wherever you are, whether you're lurking and not saying anything, or whether you are being vulnerable. So Lisa M says, see, I'm a trauma dumper, which is something I'm trying to unlearn. I think that's great that you're working on that. And then I don't think anything you've done is necessarily trauma dumping, but I'm starting to acknowledge and see sort of the pattern of you trying to work on that thing. And I really appreciate you coming into this space and being careful and still finding that good balance of vulnerability. And I don't think you've crossed any lines. So Anna Real says, "You're live. My notifications do not like you." Yeah, a bunch of other people didn't get a notification and they were talking to me about it. Thank you so much for dropping in, Anna. How's it going? I still need to respond to your text. You had quite the productive day with your movie planner. All's got to go. Not working. Yeah, I used to. It's funny. I used to be quite the trauma dumper, and it's something I've worked on a lot. Is not not making trauma a part of my identity and not feeling the need to like always talk about it, and realizing that I am a person with other attributes. And so that's been a big thing for me. Is who is Christopher East outside of the crap I've gone through? I just got home from a busy Sunday work day at the library. Nice. What was busy about it? Awaken Moxie says, since your bipolar diagnosis, I've also thought back to you explaining a particular kind of apathy you experience, which I've also heard others with bipolar explain. It just popped into my head after you mentioned the hypomania and recognizing that state from before. Yeah, like, well, it's like tough having bipolar and then also having legitimate things like complex PTSD because it's really hard to understand the boundaries. Like, this whole bipolar thing is so new to me. Like, it's wild looking back in the past and recognizing how much of my behaviors were hypomanic and how much my behaviors was me being completely wild. There's a if you want me all to explain the context of my first video, do let me know, but it was the product of a very manic and very unhealthy night. That was wild, and I it's a really crappy night, and it turned into my first video. But yeah, there's also like extreme apathy that comes with it, and I don't know. This has all been so much to me and such a learning experience, and trying to figure out the boundaries of it. And like luckily right now I don't feel hypomanic, but a last stream the excitement of everything and the nervousness and some of the insecurity pushed me into a very hypomanic state, and luckily I don't feel that way now. But it's I was talking to Sophie about this, and it's been a bit upsetting. Even on medication, how sensitive I still am, and how I have to be very careful about sleep and not introducing a lot of like dramatic change into my life. And so it's been quite the process, but um, uh, I'm excited to get a better grasp on it. Let's see. Do you work at the library or like in the library at another job at Anna Real? Anna Real, yeah, works in a public library. Look at you go. Chewy says, "You seem so fit. What's your diet?" Oh, that is quite the loaded question, Chewy. I don't know how much of my own personal history you know, but like, one of the things I've struggled with for the last 10 years is binge eating disorder, and then also for a long time I also had bulimia, and so the last 4 months or so, I've been really trying to work on my binge eating disorder and healing that really negative thing in my life, and treating my body with like love and respect, and not binging and not eating really unhealthy things. And so there's nothing particularly special about my diet. The only thing that has helped me be in the current shape that I am is asking myself, is eating this loving myself? Is this behavior taking care of myself, which is all wildly uncomfortable questions to ask myself that I hate. But that's my secret is really pushing will this be beneficial for me, and is this loving myself, and is this what I need right now? And also, the reason I started working on my binge eating is I just couldn't afford to not start healing and not start recovering because I was wasting so much money. So it was a bit of also trying to be financially stable. Let's see. Sophie Blisky says, "Let's talk later, but these live streams are giving me an idea for work." Do you mean like you and I talk later about the idea you have, or are you gonna dip off the stream? Because if so, goodbye. But if not, I would love to talk to you about it later. Strings and Pedals says, "Oh my god, I know that story. It is truly wild. It really is." Oh, I love story times. If you want to get into the lore of the first video, okay, I'm gonna get into the lore of the first video here in a second. There's something I also wonder about people who have bipolar, because I would never want someone to be extra vulnerable due to their bipolar and expose something they wouldn't otherwise, etc. Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing I've done, is trauma dump and be very manic and very excited and very sure that, um, this is a person I trust, or this is a person I want a friendship with, and tell them all these things, and then drop out of my mania, my hypomania, and then just kind of dip on people. I used to be a very toxic person and hurt a lot of people, and I have a lot of like shame and regret surrounding that. Sophie Poliski, he eats lar bars. Yes, Sophie put me onto lar bars, and they're my current ADHD fixation for my breakfast, is I eat a lar bar every morning. Lisa M says, "I asked because I used to work at a library as well." Oh, that's so cool. Double chocolate truffles. Okay, so as far as the lore on my first video, uh, during the period post my engagement ending, I had a lot of trauma, and I didn't handle that trauma particularly well, and I kind of turned into a bit of a, we'll just say, man whore. And I was very bipolar, and I was doing a lot of drugs, and I was in a very different place in my life, which is wild to look back on. And I posted my first video January of 2020, so COVID wasn't a thing yet. And then, so what had happened is I matched with this girl on Tinder. I had never met her before. And then she invited me to go to this random EDM concert in St. Louis, which was like 5.5 hours away from where I lived. And because I'm manic and at the time doing a lot of substances, we'll say, I said yes to this person I had never met before to go to this concert with her and her friend. And so I drove halfway, and we met halfway, and then I got in her car, and then we drove the rest of the way to St. Louis. And then there was this confusion about like tickets. They had a ticket for me, but they were unsure about whether they could use it or not. And so that was another thing, is like, it wasn't even sure I was going to go to this concert, but it was at a casino. And casinos make me really sad. They're sad places. And so it was just kind of sad in general. But we were going to this casino, and then right as we were about to go, I took something. I took drugs before the concert, because I didn't want to go through security with them. And then right as we get to the front of the concert, the ticket had already been used. And so it's weird because I'm here with this girl and her friend, and I don't know them, and I've never met them before, and they have tickets that are valid, and the ticket that was meant for me isn't. And so I was like, yeah, you guys just go ahead. I'm not going to, you don't know me. You don't owe me anything. And so I ended up in this casino by myself after I had taken illicit things. And it was one of the saddest moments of my life, where I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, how did I end up here in St. Louis? And I couldn't go home because she had drove. And so I just went back to the hotel room, had a huge moment of crisis, and kind of had a breakdown and a freak out. And in this space of like really losing it and kind of hitting a bit of a rock bottom, and a really uncomfortable, like, here I am again, I was like, how can I make it better in this situation? Like, how can I make the most of this situation? How can I turn my life around? And so I recorded my first YouTube video in this hotel room that we were at, waiting for her to get back, and on illicit chemicals. And it was, I think it was the last time I ever did that particular chemical, and it was a turning point for me. and quite the rock bottom, but it was quite the negative experience. And that's where my life was at when I started my YouTube channel, which is wild because like it's so different from who I am now. But yeah, truly wild story. And um, it's like weird. I'm having like flashes of shame and uncomfortability about it. But yeah, that's the story. I would love to hear about your journey to heal your relationship with food if you're ever truly in the space to discuss it. Chewy says, "Are you planning to visit any country?" I would definitely visit a country if I had the money to do so. Annabelle really wants me to visit Netherlands. That's on the list. There's a bunch of places in the U.S. that I really want to go to. Lisa, I don't have a library related degree. In my job, I rotate between circ desk, shelving, and answering phone calls and website charts. Uh, Moxie says they ditched you after all that. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of fine with it because like I'm very considerate, and I was like, I'm not gonna make you guys not go to this concert just because I don't have a ticket. But I was just all alone in this casino, and it was just such a sad moment. And I was just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I can't keep doing this. And it was kind of my rock bottom of a certain thing, and then it just like always like hooking up with random people and then being really toxic and unhealthy. And so yeah, that is the story of my first YouTube video. It was one of those you're probably wondering how I ended up here moments. I bet. Yeah, no, that's 100% of what it was. And a real I live in St. Louis. See, you could have hooked me up. You could have gotten me out of that situation. True says no. That's so sad. Well, I guess it was really life changing then. Haha. Yeah, no, it was a huge changing moment, and it propelled me. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know if I would have. I was so against recording, and I was had a lot of nerves and anxiety about it. Chewy, hey, I will now go to sleep. Bye. Have a wonderful day and chase your dreams. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good night, Chewy. Lisa M says I have to go as well. Thank you so much for stopping by and being yourself. I always get excited when I see people I know. So have a great night. Or I don't think you're maybe going to bed, whatever you're doing, Lisa. But thank you for stopping in. In my rave days, I was definitely plur, peace, love, what? Peace, love, union, and respect. I don't remember what the U stands for. I would not have left someone I invited behind like that. But yeah, at least the first video came out of it. Yeah, I was like a random hookup. A random hookup. I was going to. Oh man, just it's. I get uncomfortable because it's just so wild how different I was as a person. And retrospectively, I'm having a bit of that aha moment of like, okay, like wow, I have changed a lot and I've gotten a lot better as a person. It definitely and don't engage in illicit substances anymore. I don't go hooking up with people. I'm not on dating apps. Um, I'm not a reckless bipolar person who doesn't know they're bipolar and doing all these risky things. So shout out for, shout out for me for changing, I guess. So while I still have some of you here, because people are, Lisa says, "Wait, I don't have to leave yet. I'm back." While I still have some of you here, are you all fine with these weekly live streams? Is that cool with you all? Is that too frequent? Like I said, live streaming is kind of new to me, and uh, you know, I'm very audience based. I'm very what does my audience want, and so just checking in on that. You should be proud of that growth. Oh, thank you so much. Because now you're East manifestation. Ho ho. Shout out to the diagnosis. Yeah, I feel like back then I don't really like being called Chris. By the way, if you ever need to call me something, call me like Christopher or East. But for me, Chris is very much the conceptualization of like the most broken part of who I was, and the part that I hated. And back then, I was definitely Chris, and a person I have a lot of empathy and compassion for, but a person I don't like. This M says I like them a lot. Oh, thank you. String says some of my manic behavior could have genuinely been life threatening. Yeah, like situations I would get myself into, absolutely wild, very unsafe. Shout out to being a man, I guess, because it's probably spared me from a lot of very dangerous situations. Shepherd's voice says, nutritionist Les says, please to the like the weekly live streams, or please to what? Shepherd's voice says, yes, shout out to you. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's also part of learning and growing. Yeah, not to see. I really struggle with giving myself any praise, but it's tough because some people never get out of that cycle, and like once you get in the grip of drugs and certain behaviors, it's really hard to get out of it. And I don't know, I'm kind of sad because I had this really big group of friends, and I just had to cut them out of my life because they were so unwilling to like push forward and grow. That's why I'm so excited to have the friends that I do now from YouTube, because I'm surrounded by people who want to grow and who are chasing their higher selves as well. Lisa M says, I'm gonna ask that, do you like Christopher or do you just tolerate it? Christopher's fine with me. Christopher or East. I don't, like I said, I don't like being called Chris. Like, I'm not gonna get mad if you call me Chris, but it makes me feel kind of distant from that person. There's a lot of people in my life that still call me Chris because I'm not gonna force my old friends to call me by a different name. And at work, I go by Chris, but it's like something that I really like. I don't call myself Chris, and I don't refer to myself as Chris. So, um, Mason, how's it going? Good to see you catch a live. Yo, good to see you back with another vid. Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Mason, you're also kind of an OG. You've been around for a bit. Nutritionist Liz says yes, weekly. Weekly it shall be then. Live stream when you feel up to it, weekly or sporadically. It's a fun time. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, I would like to stream maybe some other days, but currently it would have to be very late in the night or very early in the day. I would have to be like 3 to 5 or 10 to 12, and so that might be a thing I do one day, but at the moment it's going to be Saturday or Sunday around this time. Lisa says, I've been calling you East most of the time because it seemed like that's what you wanted and how you wanted to be seen. If you like Christopher, I can mix it up. No, East is how I personally conceptualize myself, or the person I'm trying to be. I don't really. It's complicated, but I don't really feel like I'm East quite yet. I still have some hurdles to overcome. But yeah, you can call me whatever you, whichever you want, not whatever you want. Strings and Petals says, I wish Christopher wasn't so gosh darn long. Okay, Sophie, you have to send me that clip of that the one guy who's makes the joke about the Christopher thing, so I can send it to Annabelle because it is hilarious. Christopher is so long. Yeah, that's why I think Christopher is an obnoxious thing to ask people to say. So East is quick and simple. So maybe East works better. Oh, that too. Please don't stress about live streams though. If you can't or your mental health goes, please give yourself grace. Okay, East it is. Yeah, I don't want to burn out, and I don't want to leave people hanging again. I don't want to go on another year long break. But being medicated has been truly life changing because this level, like all of this, is not something I could have handled before. So being medicated and has given me the ability to truly be a different person. So shout out that. I think you can be East without being perfectly realized as a person. East is way more self-actualized than Chris was already. Yeah, I for me the difference is I still don't love myself, and I'm sort of in this purgatory in between. And so I'm working towards that of being able to like love myself and get out of my own way. Christopher is a little long for sure. Yeah, especially typing it out. So in chat, I'm East. That's the rule. East it is. Sophie says I was gonna bring up that clip. Yes, find it if you can, because I'm gonna send it to Annabelle. She'd get a kick out of it. Your name is Toph now. I like that from the Airbend, from Avatar. Toph was probably one of my favorite characters. I like Topher Grace. So Strings and Pedal says, "Damn, I wonder what being on your meds is gonna be like." I'm just shocked you're not on meds for bipolar. Honestly, it's been pretty life changing for me not having chronic depression. But I'm also on Wellbutrin. So I'm on quite the cocktail of chemicals these days. Shout out to chat though. Chat has been the most interactive I think I've ever had, and you all make this so much easier on me. I feel incredibly boring, but having people to interact with makes it all that much better. So, shout out to chat. Oh, hey, how do you all remember and stay motivated to take your meds? I've just, as an ADHD person, I have to develop a routine. And so I have all my meds in the same location. And it's like, at this point, it's just a thing I do every day. And it's how I start my day. And luckily, because I have stimulant based medication, I have Ritalin for my ADHD, I feel very tired without it. And so, that's also a bit of a motivator because it's like, okay, this is how I start my day properly. It's kind of like my Ritalin is like my cup of coffee. And so, I think just developing that habit and putting it somewhere like in sight, because like for an ADHD person, out of sight is out of mind. So putting it like by your bed or something like that helps a lot with consistency. I'm bad at it, and sometimes I link my pain to my art, so that's a thing. No, I feel you. On the pain, linking your pain to your art, because one of the things I was terrified of when poetry was more of a thing was like I was like, well, what if I heal from my trauma? Will I have anything to write poetry about anymore? Damn right, chat is awesome. My only routine is my tea in the morning, so I try to attach taking meds to the tea. Yeah, that's exactly what I would suggest is try to habit stack the two together, and it helps a lot. And then I have nothing to write about. Exactly. Yeah. Being a tortured artist does have a bit of an appeal to it. I remember I was in this poetry. I took this poetry class in college right after my engagement ended. And I was writing this really dark and sad poetry and truly tortured and had so much inspiration. It's definitely a real thing. Lisa or Sophie says, feeling like I have to be miserable to be a good writer or an artist is something I've always struggled with. Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine has a good song about it. No choir. A beautiful suggestion, Sophie. Is there anything else on my agenda? Well, we covered my agenda, and I got the advice I was looking for. Thank you so much. Let's see if there's anything else we could chit chat about before I dip off to eat dinner. Shepherd's Voice says, you're definitely not boring. May you all have a blessed night. I have to go until next time, East. Thank you so much for stopping by, Shepherd's Voice. It's always a pleasure. Have a good night. Lisa M says, I also learned that I sometimes actually don't succeed because of my pain. Like, it actually makes it harder to write when I'm ill. Oh, and I think the thing you said regarding the spoken word was actually in the explainer for Painter. Oh yeah, I think it was literally titled like "Finding My Voice." I forgot that I had made that video. Krabby Patty, how's it going? I I just read your response. You had such a lovely response back to my response. Have you been lurking, Krabby Patty, or did I miss your comment? I said hi to you yet? I don't know. Yeah, yes, being kind to my neurodivergence means I don't have to be an aesthetic. Oh, I don't have to an aesthetic home that is Instagrammable to be acceptable. I need things out in the open so I don't forget them. I hope you have a great dinner. Wait, who's having dinner? Oh, me having dinner. Okay. I'm the one having dinner. Blonde moment once again. Uh yeah, no, aesthetic home, I'm very messy. So I'm glad I don't have a particular OCD or needing to be very clean. Lisa M says, I'm looking through the explainer to see if I can find what it was you said that made an impact on me. Oh, you're double timing it. You're doing two things at once. Look at you go. Krabby Patties said, haha, no, I just hopped on Have to have? Oh, okay. I don't have to have an aesthetic home. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you for dropping by, Krabby Patties. How are you doing? How's your night going? I'm doing chores at the same time, not great at typing. Oh, okay, yeah, you're lurking and doing chores. That's what I do. Is like I also kind of feel bad because there's like creators. There's this one creator in particular who talks about lol cows. But I go to his live streams all the time, and I feel bad because I never comment. I never say anything, because I'm always at work doing something and just listening. So, you know, I am a lurker by heart. There's very few people I will openly chat to, so no worries about the tapping. I'm just happy to see that you're here to say hi. Yeah, so I have a video going live tomorrow that talks about what's upcoming, and then Friday I have a video introducing. Oh, I actually have another piece of advice I need input on. So I'm doing series of videos. Oh, wow, excuse me. I'm doing series of videos, and because I'm doing series of videos, sometimes I have an introductory video that introduces the series. And so the thing I wanted your opinion on is, should I release the introductory video and the first video in the series together, like on the same day, or should I like stagger it? Should I release the intro? Because like the introduce video is kind of weird because it's it's not really a video, it's more just introduction to videos. And so it's a topic that I've been sort of struggling with, is what the proper thing is. Would you be would that be weird to have two videos released back to back at the same time, where one is the introduction and one is the proper first video? Because that's the next thing on my schedule, is my channel rebrand and some of the long-term plans I have for my channel. So if anyone has any feedback, that would be much appreciated. Same day, nutritionist Liz, always with the great feedback. Okay, same day if possible, I shall. That's crazy. I'm already getting into those videos. I like teasers, especially if the full video is long, over 25 minutes. How would I do that? Maybe I can like, maybe I can stagger it the same day, like release the intro earlier in the day and then the proper video later that day. I don't know. I haven't figured out a good method. I don't like to wait. Yeah, I feel you on that. I'm a devourer of content, so for me, it's hard because, like, if I really like someone's channel, like, I'll watch like everything they produce. They say M says I found it. Oh, shout out! What is it? Yes, stagger is a great idea. Stagger it shall be then. Earlier in this same day. Uh, Liz gets a gold star for. Wait, hold on. Their feedback. I'll send you a message somewhere. I feel like it requires explaining, but I found it. Yeah, just hit me up on Instagram's probably the easiest place to get a hold of me, like on my personal Instagram. The rest I don't, I truthfully don't check. Um, but that's the quickest way to get a response from me. Krabby Patties, I'll still watch even if I can't watch it right away. I think I like teasers because they tell me when to expect the video and to look for it. My sub box hasn't been showing me every video. Yeah, I don't really. It's weird because I don't really like look at my sub box. I don't ever look at my subscriber feed. But YouTube is pretty good at like suggesting me videos from the people I'm subscribed to, because especially the people I watch all the time. Oh, hey, Moxie. Wow, we really are in class. Thanks, Mr. Toff. Yeah, you all get gold stars. Sticker time. Lisa says, I think I follow you. I'm not sure. I like that it's not Mr. East, it's Mr. Toff. Mr. Toff is also, we'll put that in as an acceptable thing to call me as well, for Moxie's sake. Moxie, we need to have a chat soon. I'm looking forward to chatting with each other again. Anna Real says, I tagged your channel account on IG this past week. If I post something of yours again, would you prefer I tag your personal page or both? Um, I mean, I use Instagram to message people, but I don't really post to Instagram. So, um, if you want me to see that you tagged me, then my personal account. But I don't. Instagram is the thing that I have a mixed feelings about whether I'll return to or not. Um, because I just don't like being fake. Here's a Actually, I want to explain like a really huge uh realization I've had that has changed my life. Sometimes I can feel very antisocial, especially at like work or something. Like I have a lot of anxiety about meeting new people, and I thought maybe I just like am not a people person, or maybe I'm antisocial, or I mean, some of that's kind of true. I have a lot of nervousness about meeting people, but one of the realizations I had that was pretty life changing was I worked so hard to climb out of this box, especially like a Midwestern box in the United States. This box of things being awkward, and this box of like you don't talk about mental health, or you don't talk about sex, or you don't talk about serious topics, like, and when you do talk about them, you kind of like refer to them in this hushed way, or this like awkward way, and you're always trying to like not disturb anyone, or not like bother anyone, or like not be too honest. And so one of the realizations I've had is I've worked really hard to climb out of that box, especially on YouTube, to create this space where I can be as vulnerable as I want to be. And then so sometimes when it comes to people that I don't know, I get really anxious that they're going to put me back in that box. Like I'm going to have to like I have to climb in that box and engage with them in a certain way, or it's going to be awkward, or it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's one of the realizations I had about people in general, is like, oh, like I love people and I really like people, but the reason I'm hesitant to talk to people is being really afraid of having to climb back into this like societally acceptable box of like the way you talk about stuff and the way you engage with people. And I just don't really have the time for fakeness, or like I don't really have the, and not in like a pretentious way, but in this way of it just doesn't suit my soul. And so with Instagram it's hard because like I feel like it's kind of obnoxious obnoxious to be super honest and vulnerable on Instagram. It's like, okay, we get it. So I just don't really know what I'm going to do with Instagram, whether it's a platform I'm ever going to come back to or not. But that's a very long-winded story to say, tag my personal account, I guess. Strings and Pedals says, I want stickers. Yes, please. We shall, yes. Strings and Pedals, what you're saying is my Dutch bluntness has inspired you. Yes, you specifically have inspired me to be more blunt, and say exactly how I feel and not care about Midwestern niceties. This is the longest I've streamed. Look at me go. I relate to this. There are conversations and interactions I just don't have the time for anymore in the least pretentious way. Yeah, I feel for Sophie. She's a flight attendant, and she constantly tells me about some of the stories she has with her other flight attendants and people trauma dumping or just saying these crazy things. Yeah, Sophie has it rough for sure. Oof, I get that a bit. I constantly overthink how new people perceive me and what it's okay to talk about with them. Yep, I have a really hard time understanding how people view me, and it makes me anxious because all the that's where the negative self-talk comes in. It's like I'm not particularly likable, or like someone doesn't want to get to know me, and I sort of make that decision for them. That's definitely something I have to work on. Annabelle says I'm humbled. Blisky says I don't give my time to people unless they inspire me. Good to give back. Yeah, I've learned to be a lot more like conservative with my time and a lot more protective with my time. But then it does make making friendships a bit hard because I can be a bit closed off. Lisa says, "Ooh, that part I resonate with." What part exactly, Lisa? Well, it is almost 7 o'clock, which means it's getting late for Annabelle, and I'm starting to get hungry. So I think I'm going to start wrapping up the stream. The last thing you said about making decisions for other people and about not getting to know you because they already don't like you. Yeah, I'm really bad at that. Like, I don't think that's fair to do to people is to make choices for them based off my own insecurities. But yeah, I think I'm going to start wrapping up the stream. I have some Asian stir fry kind of thing I made with bok choy last night, and I'm excited to go dig into that. Um, I once again want to say thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you to all the people in the chat. Thank you to all the people lurking. Um, it just means I'll say this every time I stream. It means a lot that you spend time with me. Time is super valuable in our lives. Who we decide to spend it with is really important, and the fact that I have anyone spending time with me means a great deal. And I really value your time. I really value you chatting with me. I value your advice on things. And you help me feel less alone in my being a YouTube creator. So thank you for that. And I hope you all have a good night or morning or whatever it is where you are at. Um, yeah, thank you. I'll see you next week, either Saturday or Sunday around this time. ACT, Annabelle Central Time. Ooh, that sounds yum. Yeah, it's gonna be delish. I'm so excited for it. And that sounds tasty. I think I'm ready for the test. I'll find out next day. Moxie, yes, you will have a test on something about this live stream, so be prepared. I'm going to quiz you all. Krabby Patty says, "Good night, everyone." Thank you again, everyone, for stopping by. It really means a lot. Stefan, thank you. Thank you for dropping by. I don't know if you've been lurking or what's been going on, but thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to say thank you. It means a lot when people say hi or goodbye. If you're busy, I totally get it, but like if you ever feel like saying just hello or goodbye, that means a lot to me. Um, yeah, definitely. As long as you're kind, the right kind of people won't reject you, I believe. Definitely. Okay, well, I'm gonna go eat dinner.